Well, fair enough. We're going to move on to our last topic of the show, and that is, since we're talking about conventions and bad things about conventions, we're going to talk about our top 5 personal disappointments, disappointing moments at a convention. So it doesn't have to be a gaming convention. It could be any convention. And then I guess I say disappointing, but it could be anything really.
Right.
Something that was like a negative experience in some manner. So, Matt, you want to start with your number 5?
Yeah, I'll start.
All right.
And listen, people, do not judge on this one. Okay, so a few years ago, we went to the Cosplay Deviants at Gen Con. They have a little party. It's not safe for work. If it's not your thing, don't look it up. You know what?
Is this the event or outside the event?
No, the actual...
Like the party or the game show?
The game show.
All right, continue.
Yes, the game show. So they dub certain anime that's not suitable for children.
Fair enough.
And the game show is they bring contestants up out of the crowd. They do dub and everyone's drinking and being completely, 12-year-old-ish and laughing at everything. It's completely raunchy. Like I said, don't judge. But the problem is I remember, was it last year or 2 years ago that we took Eric?
Last year.
Okay.
You and I went to it 2 years ago.
Yes.
Eric went last year.
And we talked this thing up. Oh, Eric, you got to go. It's so much fun. And when we went, we were watching the exact same thing we saw from the year before.
It was, we told Eric what was going to happen next.
Yes. And so that made it completely unfun. And I was very let down because I hyped this up so hard to Eric. And,
it's very childish humor. I mean, because it's like game show stuff and it's just being silly or whatever. And it's very dumb things. But it was so funny because the audience is so involved in it and they just do stupid crap. But yeah, you talked it up so much. And when we were in there, we're like, all right, well,
this is a rerun of last year. Yeah, they could at least pick different things.
I mean, I guess it was new to Eric, but still, it was just like, you got to be kidding me.
And then it is very dependent on the contestants.
Yeah, because they get contestants up that aren't into it or not being really outlandish and dumb.
Right, and just witty in general, depending on what they come up with. The 2 years ago when we went, a lot of the contestants would go back and forth and try and like outdo each other, and it got really funny at times. And just last year, I guess just the people, it was a different group of people, and they just didn't quite do as good of a job.
Yeah.
And then along with it being the exact same stuff we saw.
It's the exact same games, exact same dubs, everything.
Right.
I mean, it was like the same program that they run through. It's almost like you kind of like go downtown to a show or to like a comedy show, and it's like the same exact jokes.
Yeah, comedians in town for a week, and if you go to every single show, you're going to know his whole set by the time the week's over.
Yeah. So yeah, I was pretty disappointed. I mean, it was such in the fact that pretty much I don't think we'll even go this year.
Right.
I can't imagine us because it's just going to be the same thing. My number 5 was actually, it's kind of my own fault in some way, but this actually, I remember you and I having this conversation about it in a different light. But one year when I was really heavy into War Machine, I scheduled so many War Machine events.
Right.
And it basically, when I came home, I had a lot of fun. War Machine's great. It's my number 1 game. I played 19 games over the weekend.
Right.
And that's a crazy amount of games for War Machine. And then I came home and I realized I was very disappointed. I missed out on all of Gen Con just to play War Machine.
Right.
I spent one day, which I think was Sunday, in the dealer vendor area and stuff like that. And granted, I wasn't so much into board games at this time because it was like 2011, I think. Maybe 2012. But man, I just remember being very depressed about the fact that I basically ruined my convention experience.
Right.
Even though I had a great experience, if that makes sense. I could have, but the thing is, I just spent it all on one thing.
Right.
And for a while, what I was talking about is when we were talking about the WoW's TCG.
Yeah.
You kind of went up a few years in a row and spent the entire weekend in that one room.
Right.
And I was like, Matt, you got to get out and see the light.
No, yeah. And it was almost like I had a backward a vision on that, because it was like once I saw everything, then it was like I spent all them years in the same spot and I was missing all this.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Right. Whereas I experienced it and then chose 1 year to only do that, and then I was like, whoa.
No, I remember that year. It was like, oh, let me go find Tim. He's in the same spot.
Yeah.
So
same tables.
I know where to find Tim.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you were easy to find that year.
But yeah, I mean, War Machine, it was really fun. Everyone I played with, I mean, I had some of the most memorable games of War Machine there with like some of the coolest people in the War Machine tournament circuit and stuff. And then Privateer Press did such a fantastic job. It's like, I can't really say the experience was bad, but I just remember being disappointed because I basically skipped a year of Gen Con.
Right.
Because I might as well not have been there and playing War Machine somewhere else.
Right.
So...
my number 4, funny enough, speaking of conventions with celebrities in them, there for a little bit, Gen Con was bringing people and they had them kind of back in the corner a little bit. But the 1 year my wife was coming up with a friend of hers, and they both watched True Blood and really enjoyed True Blood. Well, Kristen Bauer was scheduled, who played Pam on True Blood, which was Eric Northman's progeny. If anyone cares or watches it, she was scheduled to be there. She ended up canceling because I think she actually did get sick. But so she missed out. And again, I had hyped it up. Oh, guess who's going to be here Saturday when y'all come up, this and that. And then her and her friend got there and she wasn't there. So I was kind of, and I would have actually liked to meet her again. She's very sweet, very nice lady. She's very tall, very good looking girl. And we'd met her at a Dragon Con before. She was actually my profile pic on Facebook for a while, just because I thought it was neat that I got a chance to meet her and everything. So I was a little disappointed whenever she canceled on Gen Con.
That's fair.
Yeah.
At least it wasn't a Fandom Fest level of cancellation.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's like depression.
Right.
It's not even disappointment. It's depression.
Yeah. And I believe her when she said she was sick.
Fair enough. My number 4 is a quick one. It's the Cosplay Deviant Adult Game Show. Man, that's such a BS thing. It's so disappointing because, like, we sat through the whole thing because Eric hadn't seen it. It would have been dumb of us to be like, this is the same thing, let's leave, because he hadn't seen it.
Right.
And so the whole time you're like, ha 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 ha, ha ha ha. Oh, these people are terrible.
Yeah.
So anyway, Cosplay Deviant Game Show. What's your number 3?
Got you. My number 3 is I went with issues with games, and kind of it's a general clump of games being sold out, and this is for Gen Con. Games being sold out, limited demos, or they decided not to release them.
Well, let's go ahead and pause for a second. My number 3 is the exact same thing.
Is it really?
I put new releases not being available.
Yeah.
So we're pretty much just going to have the same conversation. So I figured I would just inject instead of wait until the end.
Right.
Same thing.
Yeah, same thing.
Yeah. I mean, like the fact that they have like, we're going to only sell 50 copies a day each day. Now I get that you have a limited release, but man, I don't get it. I don't get it. I mean, are you not capable of seeing the hype behind a game and not getting that many more published?
Right.
Or printed? Sorry. I get the logistics behind the industry, but, excuse me. They just came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
I get the logistics, but at the same time, like, every company's doing it. You got to be kidding me.
Yeah, anymore. It seems like every company does it. And then
I think it's a marketing ploy.
Yeah, probably. And then like with the limited demo, that's the whole, you want to demo this game that's really hot? There's a schedule.
Mysterium.
Yeah, and Mysterium. And even the Harry Potter deck builder game last year. They only had 2 tables set up, and they got to a point where you had to schedule to be able to demo it.
I wonder, did you see how long the list was? Was it pretty bad?
I didn't. Once they said, actually, whenever I went up, they were like, we're booked.
Oh, wow.
It wasn't even a chance to get in on it. It was like, we're done. We're filled up for the whole weekend.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So it was like, okay, I was kind of interested in the game, but
yeah, right.
I'm not even going to get to play it now. And then the last one I had is, and things happen, I get it, but there's just as many games that they announce, or you expect to be there, and then something happens and it's not. So
yeah, I'm going to add one thing in here that kind of more pertains to me, and that is Another thing I get disappointed with, honestly, it's not as disappointing as it's like, seriousseriously, but when I'm asking people about review copies and they say we sell them to you at a discount.
Right.
I mean, because this kind of goes with the same thing. Like, I get it. Like, if you don't have enough copies there to give to reviewers or you already gave them out and stuff like that, that's fine. I'm understandable. But the fact that I have to buy your game to review it, it does not work like that, man.
Right.
Like, you know what? We should get, the next time we have a reviewer guest on the show, I think I'm going to ask them these questions, or at least every reviewer guest, I'm going to ask the questions. Do you pay, you know, as long as they're okay with answering this? Because, you know, it's not a closed thing where people, you know, we get review copies for free.
Right.
But then we don't get paid to do the review. They just give us the product, and then we spend our time, our effort, our equipment and cost and everything to review a game because we like doing it.
Right.
But then you're going to try to sell me a game at 40% off when they're already sold on cool stuff and things like that for 30% off. Mm-hmm. And you're trying to get me to buy your game to review it. It gets kind of disappointing to go to a convention and see if, like, you know, they do anything for reviewers and they slap you in the face like that.
Right.
For the most part, though, I've never really been actually disappointed. But the first time it happened, I was like, what?
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm just adding that in there. So my number 3, same thing, new releases.
Gotcha. My number 2, you might not know this girl's name, Marie-Claude Bourmania. But she is the blonde girl that usually stood at the Ninja Division soda pop.
This is on your list?
Yes, and this is why it was a disappointment, because I got so used to her being at that spot, and I was like, last year I was like, I'm finally going to go up to her. Me and my wife took pictures of her at Dragon Con one year, and I thought it'd be neat to show her, hey, you know, remember when you were in Atlanta like 6 years ago? I got a picture, like a random picture of you here.
I guess your list, is this in order of most disappointing to least disappointing?
Yes, this is my number 2.
Oh, this is a for real.
Yeah, this is my number 2.
All right, fair enough.
So last year, I guess I just got so used to seeing her there that I just expected her to be there, and she wasn't there last year, and I don't know if she'll be back ever again. I mean, hopefully they
email him.
I didn't know this. Evidently, her likeness is in a lot of their games.
Oh, yeah?
So maybe they'll do another game that they use her to promo for or something. Is it because
they do a lot of chibi stuff and her proportions are a little different?
It could be. That could have something to do with it.
Fair enough.
But so please, Marie-Claude.
I didn't mean that in any bad way. I meant it in a funny way. And she would have laughed at that, I'm assuming.
Yeah. No, she openly, actually, if you go to her website, she openly admits that that's why she did it.
Okay.
Because she got into anime and the body proportions are for anime reasons.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. My number 2 is AEG's Big Game Night.
Oh my God. Oh, yes. Oh, wow.
Yeah, I didn't know if you would put this on there or not.
If I would have thought about it. Oh, yeah.
So we were so excited about this. And the first time we did it, the whole point of the Big Game Night is they have like 400 slots, or at least they have in the last couple of years.
Right.
400 slots. You get on there. It's like $38, $40 kind of idea. And you get a booster box of games, essentially.
Right.
But you don't, it's a blind box, so you don't know what's in it. The first time, I mean, it was like a lot of cool games. There's a lot of.
We struck gold.
It was amazing.
It was Doomtown. We got the cool,
which was released at the convention that year.
Yeah, the Smash Up expansion, which I specifically waited to see if they were going to give it out, and they did. And it actually came in like a special edition box.
Yeah, it was all foil, the Cthulhu one, a special Gen Con Trains map, and a couple other things. I think it was like Seventh Hero, or I don't remember exactly. But and some of them were specific to that box too,
right?
Like retheming. I can't remember exactly which games it was, but like a retheming of a game.
Yeah.
This was in the black box actually for Black Friday, but like the idea would be take Guildhall and then retheme it with Seventh Sea, or like there's the Maximum Throwdown. It was. Oh, no, that wasn't even a retheming. That was just another one game. But like they retheme it with a different one of those. Like say adios to the hero, to the villain. There's a say bye to the villain, which is like very Chinese, I think.
Right.
But say adios is like a Western.
Mm-hmm.
But so it's not like a different game, but it's a special version of that game just with a different theme that you can get out of those boxes.
Right.
Anyway, it is worth mentioning that in addition to the money that you pay for the ticket, you also get to sit down and play games. All the AEG games, they state that you get to play with designers and things like that.
Right.
BS. First off, I don't even remember seeing maybe one or two, and half the time if they play one game, they might be playing the game for 45 minutes and you're only there for 4 hours.
Right.
So, I mean, how many real people are they really going to be able to play with? So, I mean, you did get to play a lot of the AG games for free, you don't need any tickets, but you did spend $40 or whatever it is.
Right.
And they make you wait like halfway or 2/3 through the event.
Quite a while. I think it's like the last hour.
Yeah. Before they start giving you the boxes that, and you're like you're really excited. You're like, oh, what's going to be in it? First year? Awesome. Oh, we're doing this next year. Every year since then, garbage.
Yes.
And what I mean by garbage is like...
That was the year we got Junta, right?
Yeah, Junta was reprinted. I think it was 2015. It was reprinted. And it was the big game. And everybody was like, are you serious?
Right.
And it is flooded every math trade.
Yes. Yeah.
And we can't get rid of our copies.
No.
To be honest with you, I do want to play it. But it's like a 5-hour game or something with 7 people, and its best was 7. So, but it's like all asymmetrical and stuff. It's a reprinting of a very old game they redesigned.
Right.
Well, not redesigned, but they did spice it up a little bit. But they redid all the art and everything. So, I don't know. Would I play it? I do want to play it once. I'm not very excited to hold on to it because I can't imagine me playing more than once. But whatever. With the 2016 one, Matt.
Oh.
It's interesting because if I knew what I was getting into when I bought it, for instance, like the big geeky box for Smash Up,
right?
You know what you're getting. If they would have handed me something like that, I would have been upset because it's a blind buy.
Right.
However, the 2016 box our big game night was a box that had 2 boxes in it that carried. Or that was the size for all their small box games like Sail to India and Say Audio or Say Bye to the Villain,
right?
Or Card of the Dead or whatever. All their little small box games. It holds those really well, and it came with 4 blank ones that you could put cards in as well. That's what it came with. It came with like 4 specific games. I think it came with like RR, which is the Brave Rats, the one Regality and Religion or something. It was the original artwork for it or something. But you can only get these in this box. So I will mention that. It came with the Say Adios to the Villain, which is the Wild West version. It came with Crazy Eights. I think it's what it's called. It's the original artwork, which is terrible, but I guess if you're a collector, whatever. The actual version they sell retail looks really good. So I'm like, I don't even want that. Right. I'd rather have the other one. And they came with one other game that I can't think of off the bat, but Love Letter, and it came with jumbo cards. That's all right, but it's the original Love Letter,
right?
Like the Japanese art, and
the real bland looking one,
right? Real bland. So it came with those boxes. It came with a few boxes that are blank, like I said, and actually I used one of them, but whatever. And then the rest of it was empty because you got to buy all those games to put them in there.
Right.
Now, for me, I have a lot of those games, so it worked out because I got this in a math trade, but I knew I was going after it.
Right.
To get it in a 2016 big game night, BS. That a cool thought, people.
Yeah.
It is not what people are going to your event for.
No.
And honestly, I cannot imagine like a small percentage of people saying, I go to play the games. You don't pay $40 to go for 4 hours and play some of their games.
Right.
I mean, just buy the games at that point. You know what I'm saying? I mean, the games are all like, sometimes you can get those games super cheap. So anyway, that's my number 2. I almost feel like no, I know why it's what my number 1 is, but yeah, that was a very close number 1.
Yeah. Honorable mention.
Yep.
Just going back to the celebrity convention. Just anytime I've had a bad experience with a celebrity, in general.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, just a big letdown.
Which one stands out the most?
Christopher Lloyd.
I think you may have talked about this, but go ahead and just say it again in case somebody missed that podcast.
I mean, it was a straight up pay money, sign picture.
Did he even say hi?
No, look at me.
Wow.
And, and I just, like I said, I'll chalk it up. He is older. Maybe he was just not feeling good that day. I don't know, but man, you got someone paying, on average $30-$40 just to meet you and get a autograph from you, say something to him.
Yeah.
But he was probably, I think, my most disappointing one.
Fair enough. I'm going to sound stupid. What's he most known for?
Doc Brown from Back to the Future.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I thought it sounded familiar. Wow, he was that just bad to me.
Yeah.
Is it because he's old?
That's what I said. It might have been. I'm going to give him a little credit for being old. But
sorry, I was kind of like shifting things on my page because I made the note at the beginning of the episode.
Yeah. No, you're good. But yeah, that's who he is. And like I said, I understand maybe he was old, but
and this was your honorable mention, right?
Yeah.
Okay. My honorable mention, actually, I have two of them. One was the time I was playing War Machine that same weekend that I said that I spent the entire time playing it, and I played with this kid, man.
I was going to bring up the Scrapper kid, but
yeah, I mean, I didn't feel like it was that disappointing, but it did waste a lot of my time looking back at it.
Right.
I spent like 3 hours playing a game with this kid and then playing another game with this kid. Not that I wanted to, but he hopped in because the Privateer Press guy was like, "Oh, you want to play? Like, hop in." I'm like, "No." Anyway, he wasn't bad in the board game Scrappers, but when we were playing War Machine, he was the most. The thing is, like, he was probably 15, 16. I mean, am I remembering that correctly? What do you think?
I don't know. He might have been a little younger.
A little younger.
Yeah, I think he was younger than that, like 14, 13.
Gotcha, and I'm fine with that. But when you cheat so blatantly. And the problem is you couldn't register. I was playing the Iron Gauntlet, I think it was called.
Yes.
And it was a, like you can register a game every hour. And I had just registered a game. So I'm like, what am I going to do in the meantime? But the game was not an hour. I ended up forfeiting to a degree by placement of my models. Like, oh, I guess I'll try to take you out, which actually the funny thing is I almost did. So I ran my guy up and I just blasted him with everything I had. And I was like, there's no way I'm killing him. I got him down to like 4 hit points and usually have about 15. So I was like, wow, I actually almost took him out. But my guy was like drained of all his focus, sitting there as a sitting duck. And good thing is he's terrible at rolling dice. So his luck factor was really low. So he kept missing and kept doing low damage. I'm like, please just kill my guy. Yeah. Let me out of this. But by cheating, just to explain, and I think I may have talked about this a little bit in a far episode back, but when you measure your characters to move just like any other miniature game that uses tape measures to move around, if you got 5 inches of movement, you move 5 inches. You don't move 6.5. Yeah, I mean, that's blatant amount of, that's a huge amount, dude. In a game that's about precision, this was bad.
Right.
On top of that, like constantly rolling things and picking up dice before they hit the table and stuff, be like, oh, no, I'm going to do this instead. And it's like, come on, man. I mean, I get that he's a younger kid, but at the same time, it's kind of like, I understand mistakes and maybe want to take things back. I'm totally up for that. Even in a tournament setting, most people are like, you're letting me take that back? I'm like, I don't really care. You're a cool guy.
Right.
I understood what you probably were going to do. It was stupid for you to do it this way. It makes more sense why you were like, oh man, I really want to do this.
Right.
Cool, do it. Because if I don't play you, if I sit here and like use the, I hope he just makes mistakes and I win, I don't become a better player.
Right.
But in this case, yeah, it was very frustrating and it was just a bad experience. Not that it was a disappointing experience, but that's why it's an honorable mention because it's more of a bad experience.
Right.
So what's your grand finale as your number one most disappointing probably disappointing or bad experience?
Yeah, this is my number one. It dawned on me when I got here because I guess I just didn't relate it with this, but it totally goes with conventions. So back in, I think 2010, when me and my wife first went to our first Dragon Con, my wife said, oh, I got this hotel. It's right across the street from it, this and that. Now, Dragon Con is nothing but hotels. It's all the hotels. It takes place in the hotel. It's all the hotels in downtown Atlanta. So we had one that wasn't like affiliated with Dragon Con, but it was like pretty much catty corner to one of the hotels it was.
Okay.
So we get there. We pull in, there's a cop sitting in the like guard shack looking thing. And we pulled in and they were like, y'all can't park here. And like, we were like, well, we weren't going to park. This is our hotel. And I'll never forget the look on her face. And she went, you haven't been told yet, have you? And it was like,
do I know this story? I don't remember this.
I'm sure I told you, but it was a long time ago. And so me and my wife were like, what do you mean? She was like, and the cop was like, the owners picked up.
Oh,
and like,
man.
she said, look, and we looked and I don't know if they did it, like the owners or what, but all the bed mattresses had been thrown out the windows pretty much.
Why'd they do that?
I don't know. That's why I said, I don't know if the owners did that or maybe that was like the
workers going nuts.
Not the workers. Maybe that was like
like an eviction crew or something.
Something like that, or maybe a health crew came through, and I don't know, but yeah, and it was like, oh no, we were planning on staying here. What do we do? So slight freak out, but we did find a place to stay at, obviously, because we still went ahead and stayed the weekend. But it was very disheartening to finally. We drove 6 hours. We got to our destination. Let's go unpack our bags and everything. No, you got to go find another place to stay.
That's pretty disappointing.
Yeah.
So did you ever get money back kind of thing?
They refunded our
like a deposit.
Deposit, yes. Our deposit came back to us, but it was just the fact that we lost our boarding.
Yeah. Oh man, it's a scary. Well, not really scary situation, but it's super saddening because like now you might have to be 20 minutes out or whatever.
Yeah, and that's what ended up happening. I think we were about 15 minutes out. Not awful. Not that big of a deal, but when we were just so close, and like I said, it was just right when we got there. We were all pumped. All right, we're here. Let's go get our badges and stuff. But no, we got to go find another hotel now.
Well, speaking of hotels, Matt,
Okay.
My number one is a constant disappointment, and that's the Gen Con housing lottery.
I could see that.
Man, this is the most garbage thing I've ever experienced because I've been going to Gen Con since 2003. Every single year it's been in Indianapolis. Every single year that I started staying in the hotel, because like the first 3 or 4 years, I just went 1 to 2 days. Every day or every year that I went and had a hotel, because back then I just drove back and forth each day, and I was like, that's getting tiring, But when we started getting hotels, we were attached right up against it.
Oh,
I mean, you're talking
we got spoiled.
Oh yeah, because you're talking like 20 to 30,000 range of people, and now it's 70,000. I mean, that's ridiculous. Mm-hmm. Indianapolis is not keeping up with building hotels, but I mean, I can't fault them because I mean, how many other conventions do they have where they would need that many more hotels? So maybe they can't get people to come in and build hotels for one convention a year. Mm. But I'm sure they have other huge...
I mean, they have a pro team right there.
Right. I mean, they have Lucas Oil Stadium. I mean, man. But the point is, it's not as disappointing now because it's just expected.
Actually, Lucas Oil, they get Final Fours on the regular for NCAA. So, I mean...
Yeah, I mean...
That's a lot of people they got to accommodate for that. I mean, I don't know that they fill that stadium with people up.
Well, maybe that was a 20, 30,000 person stadium. I don't know what the...
No, most of your NFLs are 70.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. So, yeah. I mean, that's like Gen Con size. But I guess it's just a one-day event, so people don't mind staying 30, 40 minutes away if they had to.
Right.
Or maybe not that far. I mean, I'm saying like 20-minute drive, but it's literally like 9 miles. Mm-hmm. It's downtown traffic and all that other jazz.
Right.
So anyway, it's just a constant. I know we've harped on this so many times, but it is probably the most disappointing thing ever because you do get used to it. You really like it. And now it's almost like it's never going to happen again. The good news is we pretty much know it's never going to happen again, so we don't need to expect better.
Yeah.
It would be just a nice surprise if it did happen.
Yeah, I was going to say, if it does happen, we'll get pretty pumped about it.
Yeah. But otherwise, man, they need to change that. And, man, I'm so terrified for this badge lottery that I can totally see happening. If they start doing a badge lottery and 1 year we don't get a ticket, I'm going to be furious because I'm going to be like, look, I mean, maybe I might be able... It's not as bad for us because maybe we'd be able to pull like some kind of press thing or whatever.
Right.
But for normal goers who've been dedicated Gen Con goers, especially people who've been more than 15 years and went for like the ones on the West Coast and stuff like that, I would be so mad because that's almost like part of your life at this point.
Right.
We look forward to Gen Con, even though some of the other conventions are just as fun from the fun perspective of playing games or seeing celebrities or whatever. Gen Con is just so integrated into somebody's life who's been that many times. Mm-hmm. And I've listened to a lot of podcasts, I'm sure you have too, where people are starting to think, oh, well, do we really want to keep going to Gen Con? Whatever. I say whatever to you people.
Right.
Because it's like, I get it. Like if you don't like that amount of people or whatever, and you're just like an antisocial type of person, no offense to you or whatever, that's fine. I get it. But people are being so elitist about this. Like it's just too big. It's too big. There's a lot of cool stuff, and it's not like you're running around experiencing everything. You know, you go to a convention and people are, I'm just going on a rant right now. People are like, on these podcasts are like, oh, the best thing about going to like other conventions is you get to sit down and just play games. You can do that here.
Yeah.
Just schedule those games and stuff, or do other things. Don't go into the dealer's hall. You're talking about being so crowded. The dealer hall is what's crowded.
Right.
The convention center is pretty big. You're not running into people other than maybe Saturday when the cosplay parade happens.
Right.
But I just don't get people's complaints. Well, actually, I take it back. Near the doors of the dealer's area is pretty stuffed as well, but that's mostly just because people are standing around taking pictures of cosplayers.
Right.
So anyway, I just don't get people's logic behind this, but that was a completely different rant. So Gen Con lottery, don't like it. Expect the badge lottery. Winner is coming.